Hi everyone, it's Tanya Hertz here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about how to record an elevator pitch and what to include in an elevator pitch. So I want to start by just letting all of you know that you'll be pitching a lot. In your lives, you will be pitching a lot. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to pitch your idea. You need to pitch it often. It gets easier. It gets better the more that you pitch. And we do a lot of elevator pitches primarily because so many of the conversations that we have in entrepreneurship are face-to-face. You don't usually get the opportunity to plan ahead and to think about what you want to say. We might just introduce you to somebody who could potentially be that person that you've been looking for to help you out. So you always want to be ready with an idea to pitch in case you get in front of the right person at the right time. So elevator's pitch is called so because it should be the length of an average elevator ride. If you find yourself with that right person in an elevator, by the time you reach that top floor, you better be able to pitch to that person. So be energetic, be strong. You always want to start with your name, let them know who you are. In an elevator pitch, you want to keep it conversational, but still it's business. So it should be somewhat formal. So use your first and last name, go right into the problem and solution. Remember, every business solves a problem for its customers. So you start with that. You never want to include props. You don't want to include PowerPoints. This isn't the time for those. Talk to everyone in the audience when you're in a live pitch. Talk to the back row so that we can hear you. Talk slower than you think you would need to. Talk louder than you would think you would need to. If you are doing this remote and recording it, then talk to the camera. Don't look to the side or do your whole pitch over here like sometimes happens when you have two computers set up. Know where that camera is and put yourself at the camera. I'm sorry, put your eyeballs at the camera. Make sure that there's a light behind the laptop, not to the side of you. So if the light is to the side of you, you can see you get all sorts of shadows on the face. It doesn't look great. If the camera's below you, again, all sorts of shadows and doesn't look great. You want the light to be just behind the laptop or the phone, and you want ideally for the screen to be a little bit above you, right? Most flattering above you, and make sure you don't get a shadow on your face from the laptop as well. Okay. So you can use Zoom to record your pitch, or you can use Canvas, or you can use even Blackboard does it. So we'll show you how to do those in another video, but let me talk about what the actual pitch is like first. We want you to be enthusiastic. We want you to be professional, enthusiastic, conversational. It's a hard combination to get, but if you can nail that on the head, you can do very, very well. So just like a resume gets you a job, doesn't get you a job, but potentially gets you an interview, the same is true for an elevator pitch. It's not going to necessarily get you the funding from a venture capitalist, but it just might get you that next meeting with the venture capitalist. It just might start a conversation going. So with that in your mind, you know that you don't need to talk about every little detail. In fact, it's only going to hurt you. Keep your elevator pitch high level, and keep your elevator pitch high enough level that anyone who hears it can get it. Now, what do you want to pitch on? You want to pitch ideas for companies that could become gazelles. So a gazelle is a type of business. It's a very specific type of business that is a high growth business. These are often also called, called startups. Startup and gazelle is almost synonymous. These are those high growth, high profit type of businesses. They tend to be young, not the people in them always, but the businesses themselves. They are less than 4 years old. They have grown 20%, at least 20% annually for their first 4 years in business, and they have at least $1 million in sales in the first year. Those are the kind of companies that we want you to be starting. So how do you come up with ideas for those kinds of companies rather than just a standard company? Well, you keep certain things in mind. Gazelles usually come from ideas where you keep scalability at the forefront of your head. So something that you can do that isn't totally dependent upon you. So quick example here, you don't want an idea for a company, consultation business, for example. Instead, maybe you could provide a platform for consultants to meet with people looking for consultants. That's the difference between a small business and a gazelle type business. We want gazelle's not mice, right? We want an animal nonetheless, but we want to make sure that you're solving a well-defined, significant problem. So there has to be a problem that you're solving, and the more painful the problem, the better. No, but solving a bigger problem is a better company. You've heard the saying, you don't want to sell aspirin, and I'm tired. You don't want to sell vitamins, you want to sell aspirin as a small business. By that, we mean you want to sell customers a solution to something that is going on right now in their lives. So if I have a raging headache, which I have a little bit of a headache tonight, I'll pay what you're asking for the aspirin. If you're selling a vitamin, you're going to have to convince me of what it's going to do in the future. Maybe, okay, right? But if I have that headache, I'm going to give you the money. And and try to solve headaches rather than sell aspirin, or vitamins. Include a very, not necessarily very, but a unique solution to a problem. There's nothing totally new under the sun. This is not an inventing class. You don't have to be the only one in a particular space. In fact, it's not necessarily a good thing to be the only one in a space, because then you have to convince people that there is a need. You can't find early adopters because they don't exist yet. But that being said, you don't want to be exactly like everybody else, okay? So you think about it, there's Uber and there's Lyft. And just because Uber was created doesn't mean that we don't have Lyft. But Lyft is not exactly the same as Uber. Think about what differentiates Lyft from Uber, and why people who use Lyft only use Lyft or choose them over Uber. Make sure that there's a reason for customers to choose you and not the competitors, and have a very strong understanding of who those customers are. Who would be the people who would be willing to take out their e-wallet and click purchase? Those are the people that you want. Now, in an elevator pitch, you only want to explain the revenue streams if there are multiple ways of making money that are not clear. For example, think of an app, right? How do apps make money? Usually it's not by selling you something, right? It's maybe by selling your data. It might be a freemium model wherein you offer a free service and then there's a premium fee for, a fee for premium services or subscription. There's a commission. There's so many different ways that companies can make money. If it is not clear how you will be making money, make sure that you articulate. Now, if you're just selling a service to a consumer, maybe you don't need to be wasting your very precious little bit of time in an elevator pitch on that. How long is an elevator pitch? Let's keep it under a minute. 30 seconds on the 30-second end might be even better, but you don't want to go over a minute. And then the best businesses out there take advantage of trends that are going on right now in the world. So if right now you are the only company who is selling hand sanitizer, there's a differential advantage. The trend is saying, yes, this is what we need. During every economic crisis out there, there's an entirely new batch of entrepreneurial companies that are started, and timing it's not everything, but it's a lot. Remember in the old days of business, they used to say location. Man, that was true back when brick and mortar was everything. Now, if I was to replace location, I would say timing, right? How many times did companies like Uber or Lyft try to start and they couldn't? Airbnb. Could Airbnb have started in any time other than an economic crisis? I don't want weirdos sleeping in my house. I'm not going to rent out my space until I need to rent out my space and I need that money. And then it makes perfect sense. Right. So absolutely think about the timing. Think about why this is the right time to start the business. Your ideas should be based in reality. That said, you don't need to know how to solve the problem yourself. You don't need to know how to, let's say if you're doing an app, right? I helped a company that, or I helped found an app that was very successful and was a great business, profitable business. I have no idea how to code an app. I have no idea how to code anything. I don't need to know how to code, right? That's what coders do, not me. But it needs to be something that can actually be coded. You can't come up with an idea. We actually had somebody do an anti-gravity boot pitch, and another person, they had this idea for a portal to another dimension. And another student who just recently pitched me an idea for something that would scan a person's brain and make recommendations based on what they really want, not what they thought they wanted. I mean, that would be wonderful, great, super. If it doesn't exist, if the technology is not yet, if the technology is not on the horizon and you don't know people who can do this, pick something else. Right? It shouldn't be dependent upon you. By that I mean, we're not talking about ideas for, let's say you're an attorney and an idea for an attorney, law office. Okay, that's great. It's a wonderful business model. We can help you get that started, but that's not the kind of idea that you pitch an elevator pitch for. It should not be geographically localized. By that I mean, you don't want to pitch an idea for a company that is a restaurant. Okay, a restaurant. Yes, restaurants can be very profitable. They can be very risky businesses to start, but they can do well. But that's not the kind of idea that's a gazelle. That's not a high growth, high profitability business. What would be better would be if you had some thing that you could sell to every single restaurant in the United States and in the world. And if you could take something that is not just a coffee shop here in San Diego to instead that you could bring around the world and easily get it to many people very quickly, those are those businesses that are typically funded. They receive angel funds, they receive venture capital funds, and they tend to get into incubators, accelerators. And usually the missing component, whatever your idea is, take that idea and add technology to it. And then chances are you have an idea for a great startup, for a great gazelle business. I've seen this happen so many times in life where people will come to me and they say, I have an idea for XYZ, and it's an idea for a small business and it's a great idea. And all we need to do is just interject a little tech in there and then boom, this is a business that becomes big. And we see it quite a bit. The 9 C's of an elevator pitch: 1, keep it concise, keep it short. I love this quote by Albert Einstein: a genius is able to take something complicated and make it simple. That's what a good presenter does. Do that. Take a complicated business model that's just a million things going on at once, and don't share all of those million little things. Nobody cares. Make it as simple as possible, right? So that everybody, when hearing it, quickly understands it. It should be clear, right? So no acronyms, no industry terminology, no jargon, no idioms, like raining cats and dogs kind of thing. Keep it just direct, to the point, make it compelling. So by compelling, we mean, get people on board, sell your aspirin, not your vitamins, get people to care, to really care about that business. So one of the pitches that I was listening, I've heard thousands of pitches in my life, but I was just listening to some pitches, and one of the founders of the company, I hope she doesn't mind I'm telling this, but she was telling the story of her auntie who was in a adult care facility. It was really upsetting. She was telling about how this person was experiencing neglect on the part of the professional healthcare staff, and it was just heart-wrenching. Right? Everyone in the room was awful, right? Terrible story, but that really I mean, that stuck with us. It stuck with us. So if you can tell the problem like a story, like, hey, this happened to me, or this happened to so-and-so, we then as human beings, we can picture it a lot better. And then it sticks with us, right? It sticks in our head. It doesn't have to always be so horrible, but it does, you know, a story helps. It almost always helps. You know, this happened to my kids. I was on a phone call with my nephew and I noticed this happening. And just something that people can picture and then viscerally tie to. That's the way to do it. Keep it credible. Focus on why you're the right one to start this business. So remember the keeps. Go back and watch your keeps videos if you haven't watched it in a while, and include why you have the right keeps to start the business. You know, play it for keeps. The knowledge, the experience, the education, the passion, and the well, other P, passion, and wow, I must be tired tonight. I've said this 1,000 times in my life. The personality, why you have that right personality, and the skill set, right? Why you have that skill set, as opposed to someone else, right? If you are, let's say, a very young entrepreneur, let's say you are in your 20s or maybe even younger than that. Let's say you're 16 years old and you want to start a high-tech company. Tell us why you're the right person to start that company. Why would I give my millions of dollars to a or however much I'm giving to a 16-year-old? Maybe it's because you have whatever it keeps you have. And then if there is something glaring like that, then maybe also talk about how you will address those gaps by bringing in mentors, advisors, or something like this. And you have to do all of this in under a minute. No buzzwords. I don't ever want to hear you talking about, you know, outside of the box greenwashing, right? Just fluff. Instead, just say what it is. Say it like it is, and keep it both conceptual and concrete at the same time. Keep it conversational as well. I think we're only having 6 C's on this, not 9 C's. Yes, we're only going to do 6 C's. Well, there's there's actually 3 other C's, and there's concrete. We'll stop at this. I think 6 is enough. Conversational. We want to make sure that we sound like yourself, right? Nobody wants to hear a sales pitch. Just talk the way that you talk. Make it you. Make it authentically you. And make sure that you're hooking the audience with that first sentence. Smile, be friendly, be open, be real, be yourself. Record your pitch. No matter what, you're going to need a recording of your pitch. So just do it now. You've got the recording. You can use Zoom. You can use Clips. You can use Camtasia. You can use, you know, Apple Movie, or you can use one of the LMS systems like the Canvas or the Blackboard system. And I'll put a separate video on that. It's okay to bring your notes if you're doing it in person, but please don't ever read your notes, right? Just look at them. They're there to just save you in the case of an emergency. Don't try to read from them. Don't ever say sorry. Fake it till you make it. We don't know what it's supposed to be until you tell us that you made a mistake. And always leave them wanting more. Don't tell us everything. And as strong as you start. End as strong as you start. Be prepared for the questions. But if you don't know the answer, don't say, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have a response for that. Instead, say, you know, that's outside of the scope of what we've actually studied right now, but that's something that we'll definitely look into. And entrepreneurship and business in general, we use the royal we, whether or not we have other people on our team. So you'll hear entrepreneurs a lot of times saying we when they're talking about the business, me and the business. And I say, consider having a plant. That's if you're doing it in person, nothing wrong with having somebody there in the audience who will ask you something you can just knock out of the park. So I just thought I would add a couple tenets of entrepreneurship that I live by. Those of you who know me have heard me say these things time and again. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Don't be perfect. Just get it done. Just show up. Be the one who actually gets there and does it. Be the one who's not afraid to pitch. Not afraid to pitch. If there's a pitch competition going on last minute and you're at some industry event online if you're social distancing, or whatever, you hear that something's going on, just do it. Just do it. You know, you doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. You're not failing unless you're, you know, I'll say that a different way. If you're not failing, you're failing. If you're not failing, you're failing. Yeah. If you're not failing, you are failing. You're supposed to fail in entrepreneurship. You're supposed to try and then fail. And venture capitalists will more likely to give you money if you've tried something and failed. Angel investors more likely to give you money if you've tried and failed, instead of never trying at all. And for me, I always tell my employees, always when I have employees, I tell them, if you're not failing, it means you're not trying hard enough, right? You're not pushing yourself. It's okay to fail. Children learn how to walk by falling 1,000 times until they get it. They're not afraid of falling. They fall, right? You do it again, you do it again. But you need to learn every time you fail. You need to learn, and you need to pivot. You need to grow, and that way you will be successful. Failing is part of entrepreneurship. And then I tell people, don't try so hard to make money. Instead, focus on making a meaning, making a difference. And once you make that meaning, once you make the difference, the money follows, right? So do something that you're passionate about, that you care about. Your life is short. And there is my timer. A couple more things I do want to add. Just if you're going to do 4 things in a pitch: your name, the problem, the solution, the keeps. Problem should be in story format. Solution, how you're uniquely solving that problem. The keeps, why you're the right person to start the business. I can't wait to watch your pitches, and I will have another video here shortly on your, how you can actually upload those if you're doing this as part of an. Take care. Bye-bye. So let me go ahead and stop the recording. I was actually recording a video.